It was a Monday like any other. At least it should have been. But I woke up in the early hours of the morning to a grotesque, jarring cacophony of noise that tore through the stillness like a scalpel to flesh. At first I couldn't place it. It sounded like dozens of television sets, each tuned to a different hellish frequency. Jumbled advertisements barked in artificial tones, layered over shrill, soulless pop songs that seemed surgically engineered to be catchy and hollow. News anchors droned in unison, rattling off headlines like a prayer for the damned, earthquakes leveling cities, political alliances fracturing, death tolls rising with clinical detachment. I glanced at the clock. 4:03 a.m. I had to be at work in 3 hours. The sound had to be coming from the apartment above me. I was sure of it. The guy upstairs was an aging ex-musician, half-deaf from decades of abusing his eardrums, and he had a reputation for blasting music loud enough to rattle the drywall. But never this early, never on a weekday, best headphones deals. I sighed and turned toward the cold, empty side of the bed, still dented from the memory of my wife. She'd always been the one to handle these kinds of things, these little human conflicts. She had a way of grounding chaos with a word, a touch. Without her, I was drifting, lost. But I needed sleep. I needed silence. Reluctantly, I got dressed, ascended the decrepit and dirty old hallway stairs, and knocked. The door opened after a pause that felt far too long. There he stood, bare-chested, hair tousled, eyes sunken and unfocused, like he just crawled out of his bed. "Could you turn that noise off?" I shouted, barely audible over the torrent of blaring infomercials, shrieking news and AI-generated voices vomiting nonsense into the void. "It sounds like you've got 3 televisions on." His eyes struggled to focus. He frowned, muttering something unintelligible. Then his face twisted in sudden fury, like his mind had just caught up with his body. "I'm not making any goddamn noise," he snarled. "I was asleep. You just woke me up. You stood just your percent." I didn't catch the last part, as the noise level rose and drowned it out. And with that, he slammed the door, hard, almost violently. I stood there for a long time, staring at the peeling paint on his door, heart beating like it wanted out of my chest. If it wasn't him, then where the hell was that noise coming from? The only other resident in the building was the elderly woman downstairs, and I knew for a fact it wasn't her. She was half senile and barely moved from her recliner. I stumbled back into my apartment, the noise clawing at my brain like rusted nails. I thought maybe, just maybe, one of my smart devices had activated. A glitch? An update? Something? I powered everything down. My smart pad, smart top, smart TV, smart fridge. One by one, nothing worked. The noise didn't stop. It only seemed to grow more vivid, more layered, like it was evolving, rising in intensity. My pulse raced. I panicked. I ran out the door, down the hall, down the stairs, barefoot, barely dressed. I didn't even lock the door. I just ran, into the streets, into the cold black of morning. But the noisy sounds followed me, weaving through the cityscape, hissing through alleyways and over rooftops like a parasite in the wind. Did you know that for only $9.99 you can subscribe to a world of, if your love life has faded, try Smart Match. You'll be expertly matched by our AI with over. Earthquakes in Manhattan. Chinese officials refuse to comment. Paris Hilton set to make a comeback with her. Best gifts for your loved ones. Voices talking over each other, mindless drivel, disasters, loud music. It drowned out my thoughts. I eventually collapsed onto a park bench far from traffic, trees silhouetted against a bleeding morning sky. I covered my ears, rocked back and forth. But it didn't help. The noise wasn't external. It wasn't broadcast. It was nested inside me, rooted deep like a virus in my brainstem. I rushed back home, adrenaline giving way to dread. I had to know what was happening to me. I had to know why. I pulled up Smartle and typed, "Sudden noise in ears." Tinnitus. Of course. But this wasn't a ringing. This was a chorus of madness. I searched again. This time, more specifically, Best headphones deals, hearing radio or television broadcasts in my ears, musical ear syndrome, hallucinations, elderly patients. None of it fit. This wasn't a hallucination, it was too real. The cadence of the voices, the clarity of the news reports, all of which were genuine events I knew to be happening. The inflections, the commercial jingles. It was like I had become a walking antenna for all the fucked up things currently happening in the world. I scrolled helplessly through the never-ending river of information on Smartle as the volume surged once more and I was bombarded. Want to lose weight? Get the Smart Fridge. It will calculate the right diet for you. I stumbled through my home, half blind, half deaf. Every step felt alien, like walking through a dream I didn't recognize. I couldn't trust what I saw. It shifted beyond my control. I couldn't filter what I heard. It flooded in without permission. Only pain felt real. Stubbing my toe, slamming my knee. I welcomed it. It was proof I still existed somewhere under the noise and flashing images of horror and human decay. Sometimes, briefly, mercifully, reality would stutter back into place. My apartment reassembled itself like a fading photograph in a dark room, edges smudged, colors bleeding. I would stumble from room to room in a daze, grabbing onto furniture, door frames, picture frames, anything solid, like a drowning man clutching debris in a rising sea. Each object felt both familiar and foreign, charged with memories I wasn't sure were mine anymore. A photo of Krista and me on a mountainside, Yosemite, I think. The two of us glowing in the golden hour, arms wrapped around each other, the sun melting into the peaks behind us. But how could that be? Wasn't she already sick by then? Had we ever even gone? My mind reeled. Had she always been sick? No, that couldn't be right. We had years together before the diagnosis. The noise returned, stronger, always stronger, louder. The images flickered through my inner screen again. Gloom and death, decay, the dying breath of the human spirit. Why these images? Why these voices? I didn't start any wars. I didn't make people starve. I don't elect politicians. I don't even vote. I don't pollute more than the next person. All my life, I have always done the right thing. I did what I was meant to do. I found someone I loved and settled down. It was them. They did this to themselves. Who are they? Who am I? I was everything and nothing. Simultaneously, all of it, none of it. A ghost trapped in overlapping frequencies and never-ending noise. And through it all, her absence screamed louder than any of it. Krista, my calibration point, my stillness. I had to keep remembering her. It had to make sense. I needed it to make sense. Whatever this was, it was trying to steal my memories and replace them with dread and terror that had nothing to do with me. I couldn't let it. I knew I could claw my way out. I could rearrange the noise into a pattern, break down those intruding images, and conjure her up from the pixels. I could find her again. I would find her again. I knew from the pit of my heart, I would trade every screaming, desperate voice, every headline, every starving child, every polluted breath, every lonely soul, every goddamn unicorn, every single nation, every single thing that ever existed. For her. Let the sky collapse. Let nations fall. Let humanity rot. Let it succumb to the infection spreading in its pus-filled, self-inflicted wounds. I didn't care. I would let it all burn if I could just see her smile one more time. And I would not feel sorry. Do you hear me? I would not feel sorry. Ever. I strained with my battered, treacherous ears to catch a response, clinging to any hint of sound as the chaotic noise rose and fell in nauseating waves. My untrustworthy eyes darted through the madness, trying to pierce the flashing nightmare of images, a stuttering diorama of horror, each frame more grotesque than the last, flickering and vanishing like a cruel, broken film reel. No answer came. No voice reached through the static to find me. Whatever cruelty befell me, it seemed to revel in the chaos of my torment and confusion. Instead, a sick, slithering sensation began to unfurl inside me, as if 1,000 tiny serpents had found their way into my veins, writhing and knotting themselves around my bones. The cold, solid reassurance of my living room floor beneath me began to dissolve. First, it burned against my skin, an unbearable, blistering heat, then turned slick and wet, then gritty like broken glass. Then something unspeakably soft, something alive, something somehow warm and cold at the same time. Every possible sensation came and went, each one worse than the last, until finally, there was nothing. I could feel nothing at all. The familiar, musty smell of my apartment, the safe, stale scent of old books and worn furniture, evaporated, replaced by the sharp, metallic stink of blood and iron. The taste of rust thickened in the back of my throat. My thoughts, too, became foreign, submerged beneath the deafening roar that blotted out reason, swallowed by a carousel of suffering flashing in my mind's eye. My world was collapsing, one sense at a time, peeling away like skin. And then I understood. I was dying. That had to be it. This was death, not swift, not merciful, but a slow, brutal unmaking of everything that I was. Yet somehow my mind, stubborn and desperate, refused to let go. It clung to shreds of memory, scraps of who I had been. Krista's husband, the love of her life, freshman sweethearts. I remember carrying her,